Hello everyone, it's Raleigh and welcome to the channel. Today I would like to tackle the subject of Titans in Guild Wars 2, or more specifically Ura, the third Titan introduced to us at the end of the story of the initial release of Janthir Wilds. If you do not know who the Titans are, the story does dive a little into it, and I have done streams where I talked about them as well, but to keep it short and simple, the original Titans that we see in Guild Wars 1 were created in the Foundry of Failed Creations, which is located in the Realm of Torment, or rather Abaddon's realm. After Cormier's ascension to godhood, most of us thought that the Titans would never appear again, but alas, this is not true. So let's talk a little bit more about the Titans we see, and then get to the real question of who is Ura? In Janthir Wilds, a little bit into the story, we're introduced to Greer. He's a Titan of Rot and Decay. Later on, we meet Decima, a Conduit Titan. While we have never known the relationships between different Titans, these two are explicitly said to be siblings, since Decima herself calls Greer her brother. This is interesting for a couple of reasons. For one, we now know that they have bonds to one another, and we can somewhat theorize on who they both really are. When we think about where we encounter both of these Titans, that being Janthir, and more specifically close to the village of Gavriel, it gives us even more clues to their identity. Titans are said to be created by twisting tormented souls. During the story, there is a point where you have to question 5 different Bloodstone ghosts, one of which is a pair of crazy white mantle known as the May Twins. My theory is that the souls of these two were twisted into becoming Titans, that being Decima and Greer. Now obviously there is a counter argument to be made here. If the two Titans are the twisted souls of the May Twins, then why are we able to talk to their ghosts during the story? Well, we do see another person that appears as both a ghost and has a physical form. I won't give too much away, but she's indeed referred to as the Bog Queen. So I believe that these ghosts might just be whatever is left behind, or perhaps there are ghosts of the past that reside within the Bloodstone or something along those lines. So that leaves us with the question of who's Ura and what does she look like? Ura is never shown to us physically, but she's said to be more cunning and stronger than her stock. When Ura is introduced, she also calls herself and the other Titans God Spawns. Now, we don't know if she's referring to the fact that originally, and could very much still be, that the Titans were made in the Foundry of Failed Creations in Abaddon's realm, or if there is more to these new Titans that we don't know yet. Mersad were gods to the White Mantle. So maybe there are Mersad left that reside within Bava-Nissos, the golden city of the Mersad, or the Domain of Anguish, the location of the Foundry of Failed Creations, that are creating Titans, and therefore the Titans refer to themselves as Godspawn. Unfortunately, there isn't enough evidence to create its own theory here, but I'll leave it at that for now. When looking at the Titan spawn we see around the maps, it becomes obvious that they take on the form of smaller versions of their creators. We have the Rotting ones, which are the spawns of Greer, and the Conduit and Lucid ones, which are spawns of Decima. But that is not all. We actually get to see a third kind of Titan spawn, those being the Ruin Shard Titans. Those are distinctly different to the other ones, since they're not only made from ruins, but also look like they have pieces of bloodstone sticking out of them. So I believe this answers the question of what Ura looks like. She's a Titan of ruins and bloodstone. This would also explain why she's stronger than the other two. If she's made from bloodstone, which we know is very powerful, then that would put her in a league of her own. But there's also the question of the bloodstone exploding on the Isles. While we see the crater, we do not know exactly when the bloodstone exploded. None of the ghosts actually describe this event in any way, meaning that it must have happened after the White Mantle was occupying this area. There's also a notebook that you can find in one of the camps of Janthir's Sentry that describes the somewhat recent event of a huge explosion that was heard across the bay in the lowlands. If we compare the explosion at Bloodstone Fen to this explosion of the Bloodstone here, we can see that it is much smaller and more contained. While in Bloodstone Fen the explosion was halted by Balthazar absorbing the magic that was released, perhaps this explosion ended up being on a much smaller scale because Ura caused the explosion and absorbed the blast before it could spread further out. Maybe her creation was the explosion, but since she was made from much of the bloodstone, the explosion ended up being way smaller. This would also help build a bridge between the Titans and the Mersad, since in the story we see one of the Mersad by the name of Menekaz doing research into the Bloodstone. Perhaps his research helped the other Mersat that might still be around with the creation of these new titans, or even a way to control titans without using Legavo, and that's why the Bloodstone was used in the creation of one of them in the first place. Nonetheless, I believe that Ura is made from Bloodstone and that the Ruin Shard spawns are hers. But that still doesn't answer the question of who she is. While there are many possibilities as to which Twisted Soul was used to create Ura, I think that perhaps we might already have the answer to this. One possible contender is Rhea. Rhea Ingham was left in charge of the village of Gavril in Saul's absence. Eventually, things got out of hand, and as the White Mantle were killing their own on the Bloodstone by the order of the twins, Rhea eventually became a victim as well. So if we go with the idea that the ghosts of the White Mantle were used to create these titans, and Rhea was the leader left in charge by Saul himself, making her perhaps one of the more powerful White Mantle, her soul could have been used to create Ura. I think that this is just one possibility, but my hope is that ArenaNet's intent was to leave small hints as to how the rest of this expansion will play out. For now, we will have to wonder about who these titans are, and perhaps you guys have theories of your own. I would love to hear what you guys think of these titans, and perhaps the idea of Mersat still lurking within the city of Bava-Nissos, or the return of the Foundry of Failed Creations. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!